Thanks for joining us on your Kentuckiana home. It is Kentucky Derby time in Kentuckiana, and we have a whole show dedicated just to the Derby. Stay tuned for more Your Kentuckiana Home.
Welcome to Your Kentuckiana Home, the only local home show in Kentuckiana. Your Kentuckiana Home is brought to you by Window World of Louisville.
Thanks for joining us on Your Kentuckiana Home. As you can see, we have a very special show today, and we're talking about my favorite time of year, the Kentucky Derby, with Jenny Fanninstill with Forme Millinery. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
So you made my beautiful hat that we have on.
Yes.
And you make hats for people all over the world.
I do.
Tell us a little bit about how you got started in this business.
Well, I actually started out as a costume designer and did that for about 15 years. I have a fashion design degree from the Art Institute of Colorado, and I thought I was going to make costumes for the rest of my life. I did work on some ballets, commercials, TV shows, movies. I even did a Grammy dress for Margaret Cho and some Cirque du Soleil costumes. But I transitioned to Chicago, and while in Chicago, I actually met a milliner who was visiting from New York. And she had been in business for about 35 years, and I started chatting with her, and I had no idea millinery still existed in the United States. And she told me to learn what's called blocking, which is the molding the material over the wooden forms. About a 100-year-old technique. So I happened to be, going to this artist retreat in Saugatuck, Michigan, and there was a hat making workshop there. And so I dabbled in it, and since I knew how to hand sew already, it kind of came natural, and 8 years later,
here you are.
Here I am.
In Louisville, Kentucky.
And now in Louisville, Kentucky.
Making hats for people all over the world.
Yes, yes.
And you have a lot of prestigious credentials coming into you with this Derby. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I'm very honored to have been asked to be the official milliner of the Kentucky Derby Museum. It's such a great partnership that I'm looking forward to. They do so much to preserve the history of the Derby and thoroughbred industry through tours and education. And so I'm excited to obviously do lots of Derby related things for this coming Derby. I have a hat on display in the museum, and my hats will also be available for sale at the Derby Museum gift shop. But after Derby, I'll be working with their educational programs in helping people learn about the history of hats and the Derby, and because they've been around since the very beginning, so I'm excited.
And there's a difference between someone like yourself that's a milliner and someone that's a hat designer. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, there's a big difference. So the definition of someone who makes hats from scratch is a milliner, and what that means is I'm actually taking the material, and for instance, like your hat, it's cineme, it's a type of straw that comes flat, very similar to yardage, and then I actually block it, mold it over wooden forms of different shapes and sizes. And for like yourself, I measure your head, that way the hat fits you perfectly. And then we talk about size, color, material, and then I make a hat just for you.
And I love my hat.
Truly from scratch. Yes. Well, you look beautiful.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. And so tell us a little bit about how to choose a Derby hat, because if someone's really tall like myself, they can handle a wider rim.
Yes.
But if they're not, then they need a smaller one.
Yes, yes. Really anything goes for the Derby, but yeah, there are, certain styles that look best on others. For a large brim, taller people definitely can pull it off a little bit better. With someone short like myself, I kind of get swallowed in it. So a smaller brim or something like what I'm wearing, a curved brim, flip brim, tends to work a little bit better. Now, as far as fascinators go, anybody can wear that. They look good on all shapes and sizes.
And fascinators are really coming in.
They really are. They started becoming popular a few years ago, and more and more people are trying them and wearing them to the races, and I think a lot of them are finding that they're quite comfortable, easy to wear, you don't bump into people. But you know, the classic large brim is always going to be a staple of the Derby.
So are you seeing any particular colors or styles that are going to be the trend this year?
I would say pastels are really big, navies, black even, and even some touches of bright colors, greens, yellows, oranges. So, you know, a little bit of everything.
So what are some of your favorite hats that you've made, and who have you made them for?
Oh, wow. They're all favorite hats of mine. They're almost like a little child that I create because I spend so much time on them. But you know, I don't really particularly have a favorite, but some of the women that I've dressed for the Derby, Barbara Corcoran, she's gone to the Derby a couple of times. She's from the TV show Shark Tank, and I have, you know, she's a great woman and full of energy, so she's done that. And then I've also created hats for Oprah.
Oh,
and
wow.
on the Oprah show, I was during their royal wedding episode that they did, and they were simulcasting to people in England during the wedding, and they had a full audience, and 12 people in the audience, the staff wore my hats as they were serving tea and crumpets to the audience, and so that was quite a treat. But I've also made hats for former First Lady Michelle Obama, and I had a couple hats that I had made for the Pence family that was at the inauguration this year.
Wow.
Madonna, Regina Taylor.
That's quite a list.
Yes. You know, it never gets old. I'm still very honored and starstruck when I get those calls.
And all of this from a chance meeting in New York with a milliner.
Yes, absolutely. You know, I'd always loved hats, and it was certainly, you know, my calling. So, and then it ended up finding too, about 3 years ago, that my great-grandmother used to be a milliner, and I had no idea. My parents had no idea. My dad just found out about it at a reunion, so it's in my blood, and I didn't even know it.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Jenny. We really appreciate it. If you would like a custom-made Kentucky Derby hat, be sure to give Jenny a call with the contact information on your screen.